So get this. Demis Hassabis, the CEO of Google DeepMind, just did this incredibly open interview, and he basically laid out his entire game plan for creating artificial general intelligence. It's huge. Okay, let's just dive right in and break down exactly what he revealed.
So right, the big question on everyone's mind is, what is the plan? How do we actually get from the chatbots we have today to something like true AGI? Well, for the very first time, we've got a surprisingly clear answer, and it's coming straight from the top.
And look, this isn't just me guessing here. The folks who analyzed this interview put it perfectly. This was a surprisingly honest look at the entire strategy. I mean, from the problems they're hitting right now, all the way to what life could look like on the other side of AGI.
All right, so before we even get to the roadmap, we have to talk about the biggest roadblock. The thing that Hassabis says is holding everything back. And he's got a great name for it: jagged intelligence.
So what on earth does he mean by that? Well, it's this idea that current AIs have these just bizarre peaks and valleys of skill. They can be absolutely superhuman at one thing and then turn around and fail at something that seems ridiculously simple to us.
And the examples he gives are just wild. You've got AIs winning gold medals in international math competitions. I mean, that is just astounding. But then, those same systems can't even play a decent game of chess. Or get this, reliably count the letters in a word. It's this lopsided, totally uneven performance that's the core problem they have to fix.
So yeah, it all boils down to one word: consistency. Until an AI can be reliable and capable across a huge range of tasks without these weird, random failures, we just don't have AGI. And in his mind, we're maybe only halfway there. 50%? That's it.
Okay, so if jagged intelligence is the problem, what's the fix? This is where it gets really, really interesting. This is the core of DeepMind's whole strategy, and you can think of it like an infinite training flywheel.
The huge mental shift here is that they're moving way beyond just scraping the internet for text and images. The real breakthrough, Hassabis says, comes from giving AI agents real, dynamic experience by letting them learn inside of simulated worlds. It's that experience that's going to smooth out those jagged edges.
So how does this actually work? Well, you take an AI agent, Google calls it Sima, and you drop it into a virtual world. But here's the absolute magic trick. That world is being created on the fly by another AI called Genie. What does that mean? It means the Sima agent can run into a basically infinite number of new, novel situations. And that creates this incredibly powerful, self-perpetuating training loop, the flywheel. And that is why this whole idea is such a game changer. It totally unbottlenecks AI from the limited amount of data we humans have ever created. The AI can now literally generate its own school, its own tests, its own data, forever. Okay, so now you've got these incredibly smart systems learning on their own in these infinite worlds. What's the next step? Well, it's a big one. You have to bring all these different specialized systems together. And this is exactly how DeepMind plans to build what Hassabis calls a candidate for proto-AGI.
And he's not shy about the recipe either. He lays it right out. You take your best-in-class models. You've got Gemini for reasoning, Genie for creating those worlds, Sima for acting inside them, and a bunch of others. And the key is you don't keep them in their own little boxes. You actually converge them. You fuse them into one single massive model. The idea is that each part is a piece of the AGI puzzle, and by putting them together, you get a single intelligence that has reasoning, world modeling, and agency all baked in from the start.
So the main takeaway here is that, yeah, this is a monumental engineering challenge, no question. But it's not a mystery anymore. The path forward isn't some theoretical guesswork. It's about actually assembling the pieces they've already built.
All right, we've covered the problem, that jagged intelligence. And we've covered the crazy technical solution, that infinite flywheel. But this is where the interview really takes a turn. It zooms way out from the how to the so what. Like, what does our world actually look like after AGI gets here?
And to frame just how massive this change is going to be, Hassabis uses this stunning analogy. He compares it to the Industrial Revolution, right? That completely reshaped our entire society over 100 years. But this time, he says, the impact is going to be 10 times bigger and it's going to happen 10 times faster. We're talking about a transformation that unfolds over a single decade, not a century. Just let that sink in.
Yeah, the implications are just staggering. Society's going to have to adapt at a speed we have never, ever seen before. He's very open about it. Our current economic models, the ones based on you trading your labor for money, they might just stop working.
He kind of brainstorms some ideas like universal basic income, which you've probably heard of, but then he says we might need to think even bigger about totally new systems. He even throws out this idea of a kind of direct democracy, where people use credits to vote on how society uses its resources. I mean, these are fundamental, world-altering changes he's talking about.
And you know, it goes so much deeper than just economics. If AGI solves scarcity and totally changes what work even means, it forces us all to face this huge philosophical question. What is our purpose? What gives our lives meaning when that traditional answer, providing for yourself and your family, isn't a necessity anymore?
Which, of course, leads to the final, ultimate question of the whole thing. Is there any limit? Is there anything that is so uniquely human that a machine, no matter how smart it gets, could just never, ever do? And his answer, well, it's a total bombshell. He just lays it out there. He says that right now, nobody has ever found anything in the entire universe that is fundamentally non-computable. His working assumption, the very foundation of his entire life's work, is that there might not be a limit, that a computational system eventually could be able to model everything. And that just leaves us with the chilling question: what, if anything, is left that's truly beyond its reach?